Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and I thought I would do a video on a topic I haven't done a video on yet, and that is CSS animations and transitions. So I'm going to talk about this is an introductory video for this particular concept. So if you've already used transitions and animations before, this may not be as interesting. I'm not an expert at animations. I'm not as quite as artistic. I'm more of like a data logic guy. But after this video, you should be able to kind of like use transitions and animations in a way to implement them in your websites and do cool things. Okay, so first we'll do transitions. Transitions is sort of the easier way to get that kind of animation effect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new project. So I'm just gonna create a new folder. We'll call this animate, and then here I'm gonna create an index.html, and I'm going to create a style.css. I'm not going to create a JavaScript file. We're just going to do all these animations purely in CSS. So you can see what's possible with CSS. So I'm going to, and again, I'm using Visual Studio Code, if you haven't noticed. So I'm going to do an exclamation point, put up my boilerplate, HTML stuff. Okay, and then we're going to link our CSS file. So link CSS, and that links to style.css. Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a div here. Okay. It's a div. It's the only div, and that's all we care about. So what we're going to do is we're going to style this div. Okay, we'll just make it a shape of some sort. So we're going to round it out, see if we can make it a circle. So we'll do border radius. I always forget like how much we need to round it out, but we'll start off with 100 pixels for border radius, and then we want to give it some color. So we're going to say red, so that way we can see what the color is, and we're going to give it some dimensions. So width 200 pixels, height 200 pixels, and then we're going to give it margin auto, so that way it's centered on the screen. And let's take a look. Open with live server. I should just have a red circle, not quite. Probably wants me to add some content to it. So let's do this. I will put a single letter A in the div. Let's see, does it appear now? Why not? Let me refresh. Control Shift I. Elements. There's my div. Oh, there it is. There's the A. Oh, because I chose color. That's right. I want background color. Background color. There we go. There's my circle. Okay, and then the A is flowing out there. Okay, so let's see if we can make the A transparent. Color. I will just do RGBA function 0, 0, 0, 1. And that should, I think, make it totally transparent. And then let's see here. Did I make my A disappear? No, I think that made it totally visible. It's 100% opaque. So let's make it 0, not opaque at all. Does that make my A disappear? Yes. So good. I can highlight it, but it's now not visible. Okay, cool. So we have a red circle. Okay. And see, I was able to, I made it a circle by using border radius to kind of round out the corners until it was a circle. We made it red because we gave the div a background color. And then I made the text completely transparent. That's what this does. So that was just invisible. So width is 200 by 200, and the margin's auto. That's how I got it centered. Okay, so let's show you a transition. Now the way you make a transition work is you have to specify what you want the transition. So what a transition does is that you say, hey, there's certain properties that when they change, I kind of want you to animate them. Okay, and you can use kind of pre-built animations. So I can do something like, so I do transition, and I specify what things I want to transition. So I'm going to say I want the background color to be one of the things I want to transition, and I wanted to transition over 0.5 seconds, and we're going to use an ease in and out animation. Okay, and then I also want to have a transition set up for width. So we'll do that for 2 seconds. And we'll also use an ease in and out thing. Okay, so I'm specifying like those two properties. So if any other properties change, it's not going to transition it. But those I specified, those when they change, they should transition. So let's make them change through a hover. So we'll say when we hover, the background color will become green. And not all properties are transitionable. Okay, you have to think of ones that have like shades. Generally, the properties that aren't like on and off. They're ones that can like they have different shades of gray. So for example, colors. There's different colors between green and red, so it can kind of fade into it. Width, it can be like 200 pixels, 201 pixels, 202 pixels. So there's these sort of increments that it can use to kind of create that transition effect. Other properties may not have that. So there's a list. You can look up like what's animatable, but you kind of get a feel for it after a while. Background color, width, we'll make the width 400, so that way the circle gets bigger. Okay, but it'll get bigger over 2 seconds, while it'll change colors in half a second. So there's the thing. Now I'm going to hover over it, and there you go. So see that, and if I unhover it, it goes back to red, because again, when it's not hovered, that's the state of things, and when I do hover it, that's the state. But since I have a transition, it will make it smooth. It kind of gives it that nice kind of morph feel. Now if I were to take this out, now watch what happens. See, it just kind of quickly changes it. Not quite as, still neat, but not quite as nice effect is when I have the transition. So see, it changes to green and then gets bigger. Okay, but I'm using sort of but see, like the timing of how it sort of animates is kind of built in, using that ease in and out and these types of built-in animations. What if I wanted to do something custom? Okay, so what you want to do is you create what's called an at keyframe. Okay, at keyframes, you're defining a new animation. Okay, so we'll say we're going to call this mine. So this is my custom animation. Okay, so that's going to be the name of the animation. And then what you do here is you're going to define in this animation what things change. So based on percentages, because I might animate it for like 10 seconds, I might animate it for a minute, I might animate it for whatever. So you're going to say, okay, when a certain percentage of the allotted animation time happens, what should this look like? So we'll just say 50%, keep it simple. Okay, so when 50% of the time elapses, by the time we hit 50%, we should have a color green and a width of 300 pixels. Okay, and then once we hit 100% of the time, we should hit a color of purple. Okay, and a width of 500 pixels. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to comment these two out. And I'm going to make it when we hover over this, we're going to run an animation. Now the animation is going to be mine. I think we just do something like this, like mine. The animation we're running is mine, so it's going to run this particular animation on this div, and should do it over. Let's actually do it over 10 seconds. So this animation will kick in when I hover over the div. At least that's what I should be doing. So I hover over the div, and see it's slowly changing at 5. Once we hit the 5-second mark, we should hit the. It's taking its sweet time. The color didn't change. So let's examine that. Animate, mine. The width did change, the color did not. I don't think maybe colors can be animated in this fashion. I think they could though. Color. And then you can also do these like transforms. Like there's like transform. Transform. And you can do all these things like change the scale. So we can like rotate it. We'll say like 50, or we'll say 25. And then I'll do this again, transform. Make that another, rotate 50 degrees. Let's see if that works. The other properties, we'll see here. Am I missing something? Color, pulse, 5 seconds, infinite. That's all fine. We did all that. Sorry for all the coughing. Let's see here. Animation, pulse. Let's see here. Is color animatable? I thought it would be. Yeah, color's animatable. The question is, why isn't it? Animation. Let's add this. See here if that makes a difference. I think background color, because the background colors for now. Let's see if I do this. If I take that off, no, put that back on. Keyframes mine, transform, rotate. Should I do it over a smaller period of time? 3 seconds. Okay, and then this was, I think it just happened over and over again. So if I do it on infinite, it'll finish, then it'll do it again, and it'll just keep repeating itself. So this is a good way to kind of get a nice pulse effect. Let's see here, like, if I do this to, let's say 0.5 seconds. So that way it just kind of happens really quickly and repeats. Okay, I mean that probably look a little bit more pulsy if I did something like this. Like let's say it goes up to 300, then back to 250. Maybe, what if I just make this 250 and make this 225. Actually, let's make this 200 so that way it stops where it started. It makes it a little less abrupt. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice little effect. So you can do stuff like that. Oh, I see what the problem is. See, the A is changing colors. I'm changing the wrong property. Just clicked. Background color is what I want to change. You probably already figured that out way earlier than I did. Background color. There we go. Now let's try this out. And there you go. So we're getting that nice little color change. Okay, so we got this nice little pulse effect. That's neat. I want to get the transform down. Two-dimensional transformation applied to an element through the transform property. This ability contains a list of It was allowed by SVG. Okay, let me just double check out transform rotate works. But all these transform functions, they allow you to just like basically allow you to do all sorts of cool manipulations. Transform, rotate. Here we go. Rotate. Just give me an example. Oh, I see. You have to write degrees. Okay. Oh, so many different units of measurement in CSS. There we go. Let's see here. There we go. That's kind of a cool effect. See, you can do some fun stuff with CSS animations. Okay. Neat. Colorful. Okay, but yeah, that's the story with CSS animations. There's a lot of things you can do. You can literally just create like whole. You could literally create cutscenes and use audio because you can load audio in HTML and do some pretty literally like build a cartoon if you wanted to with CSS animations. Really, sky's the limit nowadays with CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. It's just a matter of how much time you're willing to put in to get the effect that you want, and how much are you willing to play to learn how to use the tools. So you play, you learn, and you do cool stuff. So my name is Alex Merced from Alex Merced Coder. Have a great day and enjoy.